Besides injuries, what's wrong with the VGK?
Injuries.
Fair enough. Will the Golden Knights be active as the trade deadline approaches? And is Jack back tonight against the Sabres? It's all up ahead on this Chris and Chris edition of Locked On Vegas Golden Knights.
Your Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Happy Saturday. Thanks for skipping the Saturday cartoons and checking out the Chris and Chris edition of Locked On Vegas Golden Knights. Remember, this is a YouTube exclusive that we will only do on Saturdays, the Chris and Chris show, and then Monday through Friday is myself and Tony Dasco doing Locked On VGK anywhere you get your podcast and also on YouTube. All right, Chris, you lead us off today. What is wrong with the Vegas Golden Knights?
Injuries.
Besides injuries.
Injuries.
Okay, give me something else, buddy. No excuses. Mark Stone and Bruce Cassidy don't want to hear about excuses. What's wrong with the Golden Knights besides injuries? Give me something.
So before I get into that, if Ike's back tonight, tonight, I would probably have something in mind. But since we still have lots of injuries, I mean, I think we're playing good. Besides the first period, and I believe last night was a really good game. Besides that power play goal that they got at the end, but when I was watching it downstairs, with the closed endings and stuff, I was like, oh, come on. And there's just one weird illusion where I thought it was in. I was like, we're going overtime. Woo! But then
Keep going.
But then I saw no whistle, and I was like, God dang it.
So Chris is referencing the near comeback Thursday against the Boston Bruins. I was in my office doing my sports card show and breaks and everything, and I kind of had the game on, but I was more relying on Chris's reaction to tell me when something was happening, and he'd come running into the office and give me the updates. So, I mean, Chris, yeah, that's fair. I mean, the Golden Knights just a terrible start against Boston. As far as like a big picture perspective, my concern right now is the defense and the goaltending. Oddly enough, the defense and the goaltending, Chris, are the healthiest parts of the Golden Knights roster right now. So last season, it didn't necessarily matter if the Golden Knights weren't scoring a lot of goals. They were winning games by scoring 3 goals a lot of the time, especially 4 goals was almost a guaranteed winner. So here's some numbers, Chris. Check this out, buddy. I'm going to read you some numbers here. 5, 2, 4, 7, and 5. What do you think those numbers are that I just said?
What do you mean?
Those are the amount of goals the Vegas Golden Knights have given up in each of their last 5 games. 5, 2, 4, 7, 5. Guess which game the Golden Knights won, Chris? The game where they gave up 2 goals. So my concern here is, listen, Shea Theodore is a fantastic defenseman on both sides of the ice. The other 5 defensemen are pretty good at what they do. Alec Martinez blocks everything. Pietrangelo has found another gear. He's scoring goals all of a sudden lately. Chews up a lot of minutes. Braden McNabb hits everything that moves. Hagen Whitecloud, there's been a little bit of a concern with that pairing, but they're getting the job done for the most part. But the defense is healthy. Why are they giving up goals with a healthy defense, Chris? I'm putting you on the spot today. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions today, buddy, so make sure you're ready.
Guys, well, especially in the first period, I saw the offense struggling and clearing the puck, scoring goals.
There we go.
Especially in the first period. In the second period, I think they did a great job. They only got like 1 or 2 goals. So I'm just thinking, like, especially in the let's go back all the way to the Leafs game back in Vegas, complete block. The offense just wasn't good that game. Like, how many goals did we even get?
Well, our offense, the Golden Knights offense, got 6 goals the game in Vegas. Pardon me, buddy. I got confused on your question there. The game in Vegas, the Golden Knights scored 3 goals, gave up 7 friggin' goals. 7 goals. That's a lot of goals, buddy. It's a lot of goals. All right, so
2 posts.
yeah, the game was almost a 1-goal game. It was pretty crazy, no doubt about that. All right, so Chris, let's maybe change our gears here. You did make a good point. So yes, the Golden Knights defense and goaltending is as healthy as it's been in a long time, but it's not just about the defense being back, right? The forwards need to help and play better defense too. And of course, Jack Eichel and Mark Stone are great defensive forwards, and without them, you're seeing the system failing where the other team is getting rush attempts. They're getting better power play opportunities because you don't have Eichel and Mark Stone out there to disrupt things, who have been doing a very good job. A couple other things, like Chandler Stevenson on the very first Golden Knights goal got caught. He didn't chase his man back on the first Boston Bruins goal. Might have been the first or the second. You have the Henderson line that we've been calling it lately, Chris, with Fraze, Rempel, and who's the left wing on that? It's not Brisson. Who's the left wing on that line? Oh, Morelli, Mason Morelli. They're playing pretty well, but there was like a shift where they were all kind of watching, as it was like a jailbreak situation where Aiden Hill couldn't get across. So there's some cogs in the system right now. There's some concerns that the Golden Knights don't have the personnel, and that goes back to the injuries. Like, I know the injuries are important, but I don't think the injuries are the telltale. Some stats on Aiden Hill that I pulled up. His last 6 games are not good. He's 1-5. I think he's given up 24 or 25 goals in that period. His goals against is 3.5. His save percentage is 8.81 right now. So that's a concern, Chris. How do you feel about the goaltending right now?
I think LT should start acting as the Cassie should start putting him in the starting lineup.
That's my boy right there. Let's go, LT. That's my son, Chris. Let's go. I'm agreeing with you. Yes, cheers. Cheers to LT. Cheers to LT. Let's go. Don't hit the camera.
Well, actually, that's the screen.
No, but keep going, Chris. Talk about LT. Talk about the goaltenders a little bit. Just whatever you think right now.
Since Hill's playing, well, when was his last win? What game was it? What game was
LT's last game?
LT's last game.
LT's last game, one was the San Jose game where he got the shutout. And then he lost in the shootout against the Ottawa Senators the night we were at the volleyball game, actually, the Vegas Throw.
Yeah. But he started that day?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he started, and he played well that day. He played really well that day. So, all right, Blow Man, I think we can put a bow on this. The injuries are certainly a concern right now. The defense is a concern. The goaltending is a concern right now. And the system is a concern right now. Jack Eichel might possibly be returning. We'll hit on that in the third segment. But coming up next, Chris, we're going to talk about the trade deadline. Just 6 short days away. McCrimmon cannot sit still. He will not just watch this Golden Knights team not be as competitive given all the injuries and Mark Stone being out and such. You know, Kelly McCrimmon will be doing something. So this is what I think, at least. I'll ask you what you think, Chris. I need a second to drink some coffee. But do you think the Golden Knights are going to be traders this week with the trade deadline approaching in 6 short days?
I was not finished talking about the last topic.
Go ahead, talk about the goalies. Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead. What do you got?
LT is, I think I think they should definitely start him today because, of course, his last 2 games were the San Jose and Ottawa game. He hasn't lost he didn't lose. He did not lose in regulation in either of those. So I think they should start him. I think they should start him today and start him in the Columbus, and then I should think they should start LT today, Hill against Columbus, and then next Thursday we play Vancouver.
Who starts against Vancouver?
LT.
Now we're talking. I think this.
LT.
I think this is going to be an interesting conversation, and I've asked Cassidy about this a few times about the goalie rotation, and he says that the goalie schedule, the goalie starts are mapped out about a month in advance. It's always up to be changed, obviously, but I just wonder if the play of either goalie, like I'm not knocking Aiden Hill in this, I'm just simply wondering if Logan Thompson's play is going to help elevate him to get more of an opportunity right now. So, all right, is that all you got on the goalies before we go on to trades?
Yes.
You good? Cool. All right. No, jump in anytime you got something, buddy. I like that. Made some really good points right there. All right. So the Golden Knights, let's recap their situation right now, and then we'll try and figure out what they may possibly do. So right now, today, Golden Knights have about $6 million in salary cap space. Now, the Golden Knights would have to activate Jack Eichel to get him back in the lineup. That would put the Golden Knights about negative $4 million approximately. Mark Stone has not been officially moved to LTIR. That's $9.5 million right there. So, and you also have Brett Howden, Will Carey, and Pavel Dorofeev still sitting on IR. We don't know what their situations are. Long story short, Chris, the Golden Knights might have between $6 and $8 million to work with once Mark Stone goes to LTIR and when Jack Eichel is activated. This is similar territory to last year where one of the high-value players, Mark Stone, 2 years in a row, goes down with a long-term injury. This is being reported not by the Golden Knights, but reported by various media outlets as an injury to his spleen, which is going to keep him out for the rest of the regular season and into, if not all, of the playoffs. So unfortunate circumstance, especially how his back always was the biggest concerning point for him. His back has held up very well throughout the season. Unfortunately, he had a bad luck internal injury, I guess is the best way to describe that. So Golden Knights got some money, Chris. Kelly McCrimmon has some money to spend. The time to trade is the time to acquire some players.
Yep. I'm gonna think of a big trade that be the trade of the century.
Kelly McCrimmon is not afraid of making that big trade. Although I just saw reported Elias Pettersson, I think, just signed an extension. I haven't verified that, but I saw that making its way around social media right before you and I went on. I need to verify that just to be safe. Not that the Golden Knights were going to get Elias Pettersson this week, but that's certainly important for the long-term outlook of the Pacific Division. And the Vancouver Canucks, who are looking like a pretty good team, who are not going to go away and might be standing between the Golden Knights and advancing back to the conference finals. So, listen, we know Kelly McCrimmon's doing something. Mark Stone was a trade deadline acquisition. Tomas Tatar, the very first season, was a trade deadline acquisition. Last year, Ivan Barbashev was basically a trade deadline acquisition, as we've also acquired Jonathan Quick and Teddy Bluger kind of down the stretch. So the Golden Knights are not afraid to make big, splashy moves. So let's just say Mark Stone doesn't play a game for the rest of the season and the playoffs, Chris. Can the Golden Knights win the Stanley Cup if they acquire one or possibly two superstar level players in the trade deadline, during the trade deadline? Can the Golden Knights win a Stanley Cup without Mark Stone? End of story, Chris. There you go.
Well, Well, one, and I believe I'm going to predict a trade that will totally replace that will replace Eichel and Stone. I think we're going to trade White Cloud for Leon Draisaitl.
White Cloud for Leon Draisaitl. So listen, Chris, Leon Draisaitl is not going nowhere. Neither one of those players are going anywhere, buddy. Neither one of those players are going, not now, maybe down the road. But Zach Whitecloud is an interesting name that you brought up. So the Golden Knights do have Daniil Marimanov. You also have Caden Korczak. You also have a little deeper down the depth chart, Luc Cormier, all players that have played in the NHL. Caden Korczak is probably the most polished NHL-ready defenseman. You also got Tobias Bjornfoot in there, who the Golden Knights acquired via waivers earlier in the season, who right now he's down with the Silver Knights in the AHL. So Zach Whitecloud, Chris, the good and the bad about trading Whitecloud. The bad is the fact that Zach Whitecloud has what you can consider a very team-friendly contract. He makes $2.75 million AAV. That's his average annual salary, basically, Chris. And he's locked up through the end of the 27-28 season. So it's a good contract for the Golden Knights. But here's why it could make it, it could make sense for the Golden Knights to trade a Zach Whitecloud because of how good his contract is. The Golden Knights might be able to get a return in a very good player. So the Golden Knights have about, call it $6 million to work with. Zach Whitecloud makes 2.75. All of a sudden now the Golden Knights have almost $9 million to acquire, one or two high-end type of players. So your suggestion of Zach Whitecloud being traded, and it's funny you said that because this is something that I've talked about earlier in the season, got me in a little bit of trouble, but it's something I've talked about earlier in the season, and people kind of thought it was, and then here you are rattling that off without me even telling you to say that. So that's good, buddy. I appreciate that. But
the only reason I said that, so Gary could win a battle Alberta. That's the only reason.
You want Whitecloud to go to Calgary?
I want Whitecloud to go Edmonton for Draisaitl and McDavid, so Calgary can win a battle of Alberta.
So you're working the 3-team angle right now. You're trying to get McDavid and Draisaitl in Vegas, and your ultimate end game here isn't for the Golden Knights to do well. It's so Gary can win the battle for Alberta.
Son would be the captain. McDavid would be the away and home assistant captain. Draisaitl would be the home assistant captain, and then Eichel would be the away assistant captain. Done.
So this is where I want to remind everyone that my son Christopher plays chess. He's pretty good. I mean, he does pretty well in his chess club every Thursday at his school, and chess is a game of thinking ahead, right? It's not just being in the now. It's thinking 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 10 moves in advance, depending on how well you play the game. And it sounds like Chris is putting on a master class here of thinking way ahead, not for the Golden Knights' best interest, but for the Flames' best interest in getting McDavid and Draisaitl out of there. So it's a fun conversation, Chris, but McDavid and Draisaitl aren't leaving Edmonton, not anytime soon. However, your first suggestion as Zach Whitecloud possibly being on the move, it's not that far off. And with Kelly McCrimmon, you just don't know what's going to happen. You have players like Chandler Stevenson, who is on a very good contract, but he's not signed for next year. There's also Jonathan Marchessault, who I think the Golden Knights are going to wind up paying him a lot more money because of how amazing he's been playing right now. He is basically, I want to say single-handedly, but he is a major reason the Golden Knights are still within striking distance of the Pacific and somewhat comfortably in the playoff picture right now. So it's going to be an interesting week ahead. I think me and Chris, to put a bow on this segment right now, both think the Golden Knights will be active in the deadline. So here's the last question I'll ask you, Chris. Do you think whatever trade or trades the Golden Knights make, there is something big on the horizon about to happen? It's not going to involve Leon Draisaitl or McDavid. I'll start there, Chris. But will something big happen that is exciting and that makes Golden Knight fans like, wow, okay, good chance to win the cup all of a sudden. Is that big trade going to happen, buddy, with the Golden Knights?
White Cloud to Cale McCarr. Done.
White Cloud for Cale McCarr. Listen, buddy, you're rattling off some huge names. I don't think that's going to happen, but you are on the track that the Golden Knights are going to do something big. So I think we can agree on that. You're firing some big names off, but that's okay. I mean, Jake Gensel could be a good fit in Vegas. I personally would rather my best case scenario. I've talked about this a couple times. I would love for General Manager Kelly McCrimmon to find a way for Vladimir Tarasenko and Riley Smith at this trade deadline, and I don't think it's that far out of the realm of possibility. So bring back this guy, bring back this guy, bring back a misfit. That's what I'm saying right now. So, all right, little buddy. So next Saturday, we're gonna have a fun show because we can recap all whatever trades that not just the Golden Knights made, but what else happened around the league. Maybe McDavid and Draisaitl are on the move. I don't think so. All right, buddy. Final segment of the show. Can we move on? Last time you stopped me. Are we good to move on to the last segment?
The March preview. Okay. Today we play the Buffalo Sabres. On Monday, we're in Columbus, and then on Thursday the 7th we have Vancouver. That's probably a national team game. And for some reason, the Columbus game is on national TV. Anyways, and also a week from today, March 9th, we play the Detroit Red Wings at home. Finally, a game I can go to that doesn't involve Carolina. And then Tuesday the 12th, Seattle in Seattle. On Thursday the 14th, we play Gary in Gary. And then the 17th, we play New Jersey at home. And then on the 9th, we have a rematch against Tampa. That was actually a pretty good game the first time. And then on the 21st and on March 21, we play Seattle at home again. And then we play Columbus at home the 23rd, I believe. And then the 25th, we play St. Louis in St. Louis. And then the back-to-back games, and we play the Blues on the 26th, and then 25th and 26th, we play Nashville on the 26th. Okay, I'm getting caught up here. And then on the 28th, we play Winnipeg in Canada, and then this is gonna be my favorite game of the month. The last game of the month, the 30th, we play Minnesota in Minnesota. I've been waiting for this game my whole life. The only reason I like Minnesota is because of their home jerseys.
All right, moving forward, we're going to talk about tonight's game against the Buffalo Sabres. Sabres are playing a little better hockey as of late. They're 6-4 in their last 10 games, 13-6-1 at home. Golden Knights on the road this season, not bad, 14-11-5. So first thing, Golden Knights need to go out there and just make this their game, right? They got to find their game from the first shift and not let up. I think that's extremely important. The big question, Chris, that everyone is asking is Jack Eichel back? And I will tell you right now what Coach Cassidy said in his press conference on Friday. Coach Cassidy stated he did not think Eichel was going to return. He was asked in a little more greater detail if he's been declared out for the game. Coach Cassidy wouldn't go as far as saying that yet either. He needed to get with the medical staff, get with Jack Eichel, and kind of go from there. So it looks like Jack Eichel is doubtful to play in tonight's potential revenge game, because anytime Jack goes up to Buffalo, it's a revenge game situation. Now, If the Golden Knights announce Mark Stone is on LTIR sometime soon, then maybe that's a different story. So let's throw some predictions out there, Chris. What do we think is going to happen in tonight's game against the Buffalo Sabres? Give me a score. Give me two players on the Vegas Golden Knights that will factor in tonight's outcome.
Okay, I'm going to go Petro and Barbashev. And then I'm going to go LT in goal.
LT will be in goal tonight based on what Cassidy said. So LT should be in goal tonight.
4-3 Vegas in overtime.
All right. Vegas is going to come out strong tonight, and I think they're going to want to win the game for Jack Eichel, even if without Jack potentially playing tonight. Golden Knights certainly have a good way of coming together in games like this. You saw a nice fight in the Golden Knights game as far as fighting back from their 3-goal deficit against the Bruins. Obviously, the team wanted to do well for Coach Cassidy, who formerly coached the Boston Bruins. And Coach Cassidy did remind everyone that it was nice coming back with the ring on his hand and all that stuff. And a reporter asked him on Saturday or Friday a question about the Stanley Cup, and Cassidy said it's freaking cool to win a Stanley Cup. So point being is the players do come together to support each other. Here it comes. All right, well, there you go. And Kerplunk. I heard that from down here, buddy. I heard the thump before I heard it on my ears. All right, so Golden Knights are going to come together. 6-1 Golden Knights, buddy. 6-1 Golden Knights. I'm going to go with some mayhem tonight. We're going to take Chandler. He's playing really well right now. And outside of Chandler, all right, White Cloud, buddy. There you go. Give me Chandler Stevenson and Zach Whitecloud to factor in the outcome. 6-1 Vegas Golden Knights. All right, little man. We went long today. Long one. I think we're going to wrap it up with this, little buddy. I think we're going to wrap it up here. All right. Thank you, everybody. There it is. All right. Thank you, everybody, for checking out the Chris and Chris edition of Locked On Vegas Golden Knights. This is a YouTube exclusive. You can only catch it on Saturdays. So if you're watching, you already know that. Make sure you tell someone else about the Chris and Chris edition of Locked On VGK. You can catch Locked On Vegas Golden Knights Monday through Friday with myself and Tony Dasco anywhere you get your podcast and on YouTube. Quick shout out to all of the everydayers that give us the time of day Monday through Friday, and an extra special shout out to the super everydayers who check this show out 6 days a week. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see if the Golden Knights can get back on track tonight against the Buffalo Sabres. Enjoy your weekend and take 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000.